It's always you. 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 Keep falling for you.
Yo guys, what is going on? I just released the unboxing for this guy a couple days ago, and I told you the review would be out, and here it is. So 16-inch, it's what a lot of people have been waiting for, and here it is. So let's do it. So having a look at one of the main changes here from the 15-inch to the 16-inch is the fact that they changed from the butterfly mechanism to the scissor mechanism. But this isn't the exact same mechanism they were using in the previous generation before 2016. It's slightly different. It's kind of like a midway in between the butterfly and the old scissor mechanism. And honestly, this is my favorite keyboard I've ever used on any MacBook ever. And probably my favorite setting I've ever used on any computer ever, including Windows. I really like it. The key travel is in that perfect midway between thin and thick, and it's in that perfect midway between butterfly and scissor, and it's kind of its own thing, and it looks really nice, and it feels really nice to type on. If anything, the keyboard here isn't just okay, it definitely isn't bad. It's actually, in my opinion, it's a bonus. It's something that's nice to use. And along with that, like the previous MacBook Pros, the trackpad is also a bonus. Having that big trackpad is really nice to swipe through, make gestures and all that, and especially when it comes to Photoshop, when I'm zooming in and clicking with one finger and moving around with the other, it's really useful and nice to have that space, and it makes it so much easier. And that force touch feedback is really nice as well. And it also brings me onto the touch bar and how I wish, well, I don't mind the touch bar. I don't really have much against it, and I'm really glad that they separated the escape key from it. That was really important, and I'm really happy they did that. But along with that, you know, I don't mind it, and in fact, when it comes to changing the volume and brightness, I like how I can just grab and slide rather than just keep tapping like 100 times. But what I really wish was just an extra thing, and I know it's a small thing, but if they added some sort of like force touch feedback to the touch bar, like 3D touch on the iPhone, that would finish it off. I would genuinely be happy, because I think that makes actually a really big difference, even though it's a small thing. Having that feedback makes it feel less gimmicky and more professional. Now, if you're a Final Cut user and you use Final Cut a lot, then this I really think is great for Final Cut users. Not only is there that great optimization between Final Cut and macOS that you're going to find on every MacBook, but on top of that, you're getting really good internals and a really good airflow and a really good system and all those fixes from before, which allow for the performance to be that bit better and to give you a better user experience. And so if you're not editing massive files, if you're just editing like 1080p content, that's not a reason to not get this. If anything, that's a reason to get this. You don't have to be pushing your computer to the max for that computer to be worth it. If you're editing 1080p files on here, then that means that you're going to get a really flawless experience, and I've been getting a really flawless experience, and that's great. And this is on the base model, so the value here is great. And even though Macs are still overpriced, this I think was the best value I've ever found for a MacBook, because you're getting good specs, and on top of that, you're getting the great guaranteed build quality that you're going to get from Apple. You're getting macOS, and if you like that, then that's good, because macOS is unlike Windows, and you get the whole integration with iCloud, and that's kind of the experience you're paying for. People forget that you're not only paying for the hardware. The value for what you're getting in the money is really good, especially in comparison to the older MacBooks, and the whole package deal that you're getting here. And something that also you gotta bear in mind is this starts at the same price as the previous 15-inch MacBook Pros, and you're getting much more for it. So in terms of how I would title this MacBook, I would say it is the best value for money. And what's nice about this specifically, especially with the fix of this keyboard rather than the butterfly mechanism, is this guy is probably, if taken care of, could last you 7 to 8 years. So you're putting your money in, but this is going to be your investment for the next majority of a decade. What's also great about the 16-inch specifically is the fact that it's got smaller bezels now, which makes it look much nicer and makes it more immersive and all that, but also just getting that little extra screen with the smaller bezels makes it nicer to use and makes it nicer to work with. And also you kind of feel like there's less wasted space on the screen rather than having those really thick black bars that you're going to get on the MacBook Air and the 13-inch. And having that big screen is great for Final Cut because I have a lot of like the transitions and all the settings in the bottom right, but then I have the timeline. And on a 13-inch MacBook Pro, all of those transitions and effects take up from the timeline too much space for me to actively have that effects tab open. But with the 16-inch, it allows me to be more flexible with that and allows me to add extra stuff on the screen as well, which is overall really useful. And I'm really glad that I ended up buying the 16-inch rather than a 13-inch, because as those 3 inches or 2.5 inches make all the difference. Everyone's talking about the microphone on this guy. I never use the MacBook microphone, but when I come to record some things from time to time, you know, using the MacBook microphone really isn't that bad. It's nice to know that if I forgot my microphone that I used for recording one time and I was in desperate need of recording right there and then, I could actually use the MacBook's microphone and I'm sure no one would really suspect a thing. I mean, listen to these tests. So this is how the microphone sounds, completely unedited. Tell me, what do you think? Because after using it right now, I definitely think I could actually get away with using this for a voiceover at one time. So yeah, I think the microphone was really good, and it's nice that they're officially just fixing all these small things. They're just not even things that a lot of people asked for, like the microphone, but fixing it so it's there when you need it. That's why it would be nice if they updated the FaceTime camera. It's 720p, it's not great, it could be better. So it would be nice to see that at maybe 1080p, maybe the same as the iPhone camera, or as an older iPhone like the iPhone 10. If it has the same camera as that, that would be really good. And especially now in a time where everyone is using the camera for video calls and all of that. Now, something that I want to mention as a pro that a lot of people mention as a con is the fact that this guy comes with 4 USB-C ports. Now, by pro, I don't mean the fact that it only comes with 4 USB-C ports. I would appreciate it if there was also a micro SD card slot and an SD card slot. Those two things would be really useful. And I don't think they have a good reason for not putting that there. But other than that, I like having the 4 USB-C ports. Several reasons. A, I can charge from either side, which is actually one of the low-key best things. And I know it's a small thing, but I hate having the wire come all the way around, especially when I'm in bed, because I need to have it come from a different side than I do when I'm on my desk. And when it comes bending around, over time, the wire gets damaged, and eventually that's how wires break. 4 USB-C ports also good because it just adds a lot of flexibility. So I can plug a lot of different things. 4 different USB-C ports means there's just more things I can plug. More things are moving onto USB-C. I've got more USB-C data drives. The way I connect my monitor to my laptop is through a USB-C port, and that's great. And on top of that, using a dongle or a USB-C hub means I'm getting not only those 2 USB-C ports, but also more USBs. And even though they're USB-A, I'm still getting more usage, and it encourages you to get more usage, and it makes it easier actually beforehand, rather than being in a situation where you realize you don't have enough ports and you need to buy something to get more ports. So having bought this laptop, the first thing I did was buy a USB hub. Now, most people know that it's a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier and a little bit bigger than the 15-inch MacBook Pros from before, but it just so you know, I say a little bit, like I genuinely mean a little bit, in terms of you wouldn't notice a difference in thickness and weight and size if it wasn't directly being compared right in front of you. So they're still thin, they're not thick, they're still thin laptops, and they're still portable. So don't think that that's really going to be an issue. The main difference between portability is between the 13-inch and the 15 or 16-inch though. The 13-inch is really light, and that is really portable, whereas the 15 and 16-inch are both the same. They're still portable, they're just not as portable, and they're not as light, and they're not as flexible in that sense. Now, they did put that 100 watt battery, which is the highest you can get on a laptop legally for when you go flying, which is full on great for them, just maxing that out. The battery life on a laptop in general is okay, it's not that good. Honestly, in terms of my usage, even when I'm not editing, the battery life is okay, but at least they're maxing that out so you can get the best type of okay rather than getting an okay or a bad okay. But still, you're not going to get like a crazy amount of hours from this. Also, something you gotta bear in mind is that the hardware isn't upgradable. Most people, nearly everyone who buys a Mac actually will know this, that you can't add storage. So if you're gonna buy 512 gigs, then you're buying 512 gigs. If you're gonna buy 8 terabytes, then you're buying 8 terabytes. That's not gonna change. And the prices are crazy when you want to add storage. So what I recommend doing is getting like 512 gigs, a terabyte, whatever you think suits you the best, and then just using external hard drives. So out of all this, the conclusion I have to make is that the value for money here is really good, in the sense that you're getting what you're paying for and it's gonna last you. It's gonna do the job and it's gonna do it well. When it comes to tech, I don't like to be biased towards brands, but you gotta admit with Apple, you're getting a guaranteed build quality, you're getting guaranteed good service and support most of the time. So the main question that this comes down to is, who is this for? So first you gotta tick one box. You gotta tick the box, are they a Mac OS user? If they're not, then it's not for them, and it's pretty simple. Then once we've established that they're a Mac OS user, then you gotta ask yourself this question: are they a pro user? So what is a pro user? If you're the sort of guy who just writes up Word documents, PowerPoints,
sends emails, replies to emails,
then you're probably not a pro user. But if you're using an app that would be labeled as professional, and it takes power to use, and it takes only a certain computer that can handle it, like Final Cut or Photoshop to a certain extent, then yeah, this is for you. This is also for the non-pro users who just want a big screen. But in terms of who actually needs it, that's those pro users, it's the Final Cut users. What I really like about this MacBook is the fact that even a pro user can use the base model. The base model will work for a pro user, and I think which kind of brings back that whole value for money thing, because with nearly all Apple products I find that the base model is just too pathetic to use. But in this case it's not pathetic, the base model is very reliable, and the specs inside are genuinely really good,
making the base model capable of a lot more than it would have been in a different situation.
So that's the conclusion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe. The channel's small and I'm trying to grow it. I'm doing my absolute best, and I would really appreciate it. Also check out my Instagram and Twitter at El-Naggar. That's where I'm posting a lot of sorts of tech related stuff and behind the scenes perspective of what's coming up in my next video, or if I want feedback or your opinion on what I should do for my thumbnail for an upcoming video, anything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.